Welcome to Lingua Latina per se illustrata, capitulum octavum, lesson 4. This is our final lesson of new material for this chapter. We will likely do one more lesson that's a recap on some of the ideas discussed in the chapter, but that will come later. So what are we going to learn today? We're going to learn about two things in this lesson. We're going to learn about the ablative of price, and we're going to learn about an interesting idea in Latin. It's the verb convenit, and we'll discuss that as well. Our first topic is the topic of the ablative of price. Latin uses the ablative case when talking about the price of something, and we see this generally in the context of verbs of buying and selling. So, for example, in this chapter, we have three primary verbs of buying and selling. We have emere, vendere, and constare. Emere means to buy, vendere means to sell, and constare means to cost. So before we talk about how those are translated, let's take a look at a couple of cases in which these are used. Here's our first instance. Hic annulus, centum numis constat. So here we have the verb constare, to cost, right? And you can see also that we've got numis in the ablative case. Hic annulus centum numis constat. Centum numis constat. How would we translate that? Well, we would translate that like this. Blank costs, and then the noun and the ablative. So this ring costs 100 coins. This ring costs 100 coins. And we're using the ablative of price because we're talking about the cost of something. This is one of the cases in which we use the ablative of price. Let's look at another example. Albinus medo annulum vendit, sestertiis nonaginta. So here we have the ablative here, vendit sestertiis nonaginta, right? And how would we translate that sentence? Well, the verb is to sell, right? And so the way we would translate that is we would say he or she sells blank for, and then the noun and the ablative. So in this particular case, Albinus sells the ring to Medus. There's the dative case, the indirect object. Albinus sells the ring to Medus for 90 sesterces, for 90 sesterces, right? For $90, basically. So you'll notice that the way we translate that, he sells blank for, and then the noun and the ablative. We would also, if we were talking about buying, we would say he or she buys blank for, and then the noun and the ablative. So the amount of money or the number of coins. Our second topic is the topic of this idea in Latin, convenit. What is this, basically? Well, the first thing we have to keep in mind is that Latin simply is not English. So this doesn't, there's not a nice, neat one-to-one correlation between Latin and English in this case. But nonetheless, we don't need to be afraid. We can just keep calm and continue studying Latin. Let's move those out of the way. The best way to understand convenit is to start with some examples, or some sample sentences. Here we have tanta gemma, ad tam parvum annulum non convenit. And here's our second example. Hic annulus ad digitum tuum non convenit. You can already begin to see the pattern here, but let's go ahead and translate these and see if this helps to shed light on what's going on here. Such a big gem does not suit such a small ring, and this ring does not fit your finger. Now wait a minute. Here we have non convenit, right? And non convenit, it's the same phrase in Latin, but in the English translation we have does not fit, and here we have does not suit. So what's going on? The translations are different. Well, this is getting back to our idea that Latin is not English. So what exactly does convenit express here that would require us to translate it in two different ways in English? Is there a common theme? Is there something that we can log away in our memories as a basic significance of convenire or convenit so that we can recall and use it and understand it when we encounter it? The answer basically is yes, absolutely. Convenit expresses or encapsulates the idea of something going well together with something else, or that two things are well suited for each other, or that they make a good combination, right? That they fit together well. They go together well in a complementary way. So as you can see, there are multiple ways of expressing this idea in English. In Latin, however, we get the simple, compact way of expressing this collection of connected ideas. In English, we express it with a single word, convenit, in Latin. And you can also see, if you look again at our sample sentences, you can see that there's a basic pattern that this sentence follows, a basic syntactical structure that you'll see over and over again, which is, let's see, we're going to clear some of these things out of the way here so we can just take a nice clean look at our sample sentence here. So here we have tanta gemma ad tam parvum annulum non convenit. If we break that down into sections, tanta gemma ad tam parvum annulum non convenit. So we have our basic structure here where we have our principal piece in the nominative case, and we have our convenit expression here, non convenit in this case, and then here ad tam parvum annulum, we have the preposition ad plus our second noun and its associated adjectives in the accusative case. Tanta gemma ad tam parvum annulum non convenit. Doesn't go well together with it. It's not suited to it. So we've talked about two ideas in this lesson. We've talked about the ablative of price, and we've talked about convenit. That concludes lesson number 4 for Capitulum Octavum. I hope you found that helpful. I look forward to seeing you in class. Valete omnes.